I've been a believer since 1993, 94 in California. But, really the truth of it was he's not sovereign. He wasn't sovereign in my life. He's not king of my life. I wasn't spending time in the Word. When I made a decision, I wouldn't go to him. I wouldn't talk with him. I was just really just going about life trying to sort things out myself. And really, I think Jesus was parked at the back somewhere. I put him on parked him, all right, I'm safe now. And now I've parked him in the back. Jesus, God over the years has he's sent me warnings and signs, you could say, painful episodes, and you learn for a bit, but then, you just revert back. I think I was just so involved in the flesh, to be honest. I mean, brutally honest, I was just so involved in the flesh and immersed in it and feeding my body, doing things with my brain. And I started to become blind again in the spirit, blind to the ways of God, didn't understand his ways, and basically dead. Like an example of it would be of my flesh, let's say, my interests. One example might be like hamburgers. I was so interested in making hamburgers. I come to you, I talk about hamburgers. So my plan was to actually open a burger shop in Portswood Road in Southampton. I was very close to signing the lease on it, and it was a big financial commitment. There was a lot of stress in that. I was going to make a lot of money and then do good things with it. Make a lot, millions of, and do good things with it. And I think that's always been the way of operating for me, is instead of just going to him, I would go right round and do things under my own strength and basically under my own intelligence, and really for my own glory and for others to glorify me. Become successful in that, and then do good things for God, so he's happy as well. It's nothing wrong with having a business, but the motives and the attitudes is what he looks at. He's going to open our hearts, and nothing is hidden from him. And I was, all those years as a believer, on that road of the flesh. And the destination of that, it says it is death. What he did was he ended up about two odd years ago giving me a health problem. He got me to a point where I thought I was facing death. I thought I had a serious illness. I mean, there was blood coming out where it shouldn't be, and I was very, very worried. This time he really shook me up. This sort of help that he gave, rather than the sort of sledgehammer type or the warning type, this one more so than ever was, I'm totally helpless and I'm gonna bail you out. I think that hit me most. That sort of message of love, of his grace and his mercy, really penetrated deep. And just in Romans 8:12, it says, therefore, brothers and sisters, we have an obligation, but it is not to the flesh, to live according to it. For if you live according to the flesh, you will die. But if by the Spirit, so not on our own strengths, if by the Spirit you put to death the misdeeds of the body, you will live. And I've got to confess, I really wasn't really in the Word or reading the Word over those 20 odd years, just dipping in and out, but not coming to them for food, for living food. I bumped into somebody I met 6 months earlier who was involved in giving food out in town, and I just ended up picking up all the Greg's collections. and with co-op, and so much time was spent in the van. God arranged where all that time He got me, in the Word, listening to the audio Bible, and to sermons on YouTube. And so I think I'm collecting physical food, but God arranged it that I was actually being fed with His food at that same time. That's how He does it. He's so wonderful and so loving and so gentle, the Holy Spirit. Where it says it richly dwells in our heart, and He richly dwells in our heart, and it's seeded. And I thought, this is living. And some of the times in the van, I couldn't even contain the glory, just the joy within the van, picking up food, dark and it's raining, but just such great times. It's always been constantly looking at Him. When the lockdown occurred in March, we got a call from Greg's and Nando's saying that they were closing down their shops. And it felt like the end of the world, because they asked us to come in. And so my friend Ace, who also gives food on a Saturday night, been doing that for 10 years. We went in to Greg's, and we'd heard that the day before, because of all the panic, somebody pulled a knife out in Greg's. God just said, look, just I am with you. And to be honest, it was almost like I wasn't even thinking. He just did everything for me. And so we went in there, picked up loads of food, and it went to whoever it went to. In all these things, He has set me free in that. And that is only in believing in Him. It's not any other way. It's not under my effort. If I just take my gaze off Him for a second, there's potential to go back into the flesh and then do and worry and do things under my own strength and go off that road again. My hope for the church would be it's sort of like what's happened to me. I think I went to church for so many years and just dead up in it, and putting the church face on for 2 hours and then coming home and just forgetting about it, watching football, not picking up the Bible. And even if I did pick up the Bible at that time, it wouldn't sink in. It would not make sense, because I am in the flesh, and it's ridiculous to me. It's stupidity to me. My flesh saying that is stupidity. My hope for the church is for us to know the true Jesus. And the true Jesus is not one who we can park or behind or put on the shelf in amongst the other things in our lives. He's not going to have that. And then he says in John 6:60, on hearing it, many of his disciples said, this is a hard teaching. Who can accept it? From this time, many of his disciples, so people following him, turned back and no longer followed him. And then he said to the other 12, he said, do you want to leave also? I think that what he's been telling me, and the hope for the church is, Jesus is hard. It's hard sayings of Jesus. He comes to confront things, our lives, our way of life, for a reason, because he knows there's death in it, and that he is life. And so he is confronting it. And I urge everybody to be challenged in every aspect, and to go to him, and not be the disciples that turn away because he doesn't fit in with our way of life. We're not to have him fit into our way of life. We fit into his way of life.